You either froze to death or you were. And then the other end of the building, you'd have to stop and get your coat on the way across. Oops. All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the North Platte City Council meeting here on Tuesday, April 7th, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. Calling the meeting to order, we have an invocation by Chaplain Don Anderson, please. Chaplain Anderson.
Father God, creator and sustainer, we thank you for creating a society in which we can meet and express our opinions and our voices. Father, we know that you have created order and asked us to abide by that. Thank you for these folks that have stepped up into leadership, that ask that you would give them wisdom and guidance this evening as they carry out the city's business. And for those that are going to participate also, Father, that we would all be sensitive to each other, that we would show honor and respect to each other, and that the meeting would be peaceful and civil. I ask these things in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Angie, the roll call, please.
Here.
Dive.
Here.
Hall.
Here.
Lucas.
Here.
Garrick.
Here.
Flanders. Reeker.
Here.
McNick.
Here.
Thank you. A current copy of the Open Meetings Act of the State of Nebraska is posted on the wall at the back of the City Council chambers. Meeting procedure: the public may address specific agenda items at the pleasure of the mayor. If recognized by the mayor, please identify yourself by stating your name and your address. Please address the council through the mayor and limit your remarks. We respect our city employees and request that any complaints or criticisms of employees not be aired in a public meeting. Concerns about employees should be brought to the attention of the city administrator or the mayor. Individuals in violation will be declared out of order. I don't have any awards or accolades. Okay. Consent agenda. All matters under the consent agenda are considered by the city council to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. Any city council member may, however, remove an item from consent by request. 1A, approve the minutes of the March 17, 2026 meeting. 1B, place on file the treasurer's report for February 2026. C, approve the mayor's appointments of Jim Conley and Ron Meyer, and reappointment of Mary Shimmin and John Gutschenritter to the North Platte Tree Board. D, send the application of Shannon Bordeaux as liquor license manager at Reuben Chop House located at 1017 South Dewey Street, Suite 3, to the Liquor Control Commission with no recommendation. E, approve the applications by Midwest Leaf LLC for special designated liquor licenses on April 30, 2026 from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. at Riverside Community located at 1107 1109 Gwen Avenue for the ribbon cutting. F, adopt the resolution consenting to the sale and consumption of alcoholic liquor on May 15 and 16, 2026 from the 12 p.m. to 1 a.m. at East 5th Street and North Dewey Street during Music on the Bricks, and approve the application by Brothers Tavern for the special designated licenses. G, approve the application by First Responders Foundation for the special designated license on May 2nd, 2026 from 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. at Pal's Brewing, 4520 South Buffalo Avenue, for a fundraiser silent auction. H, consider action on an application by Charles Roberts and Richard Housman for Roberts Subdivision located at 2401 Rodeo Road in an R3 dwelling district. I, approve using Newburn funds in the amount of $38,338 to finance the concrete work of a 40 by 60 foot Poligon park shelter to install in Cody Park. J, authorize the mayor to approve, negotiate, and sign all necessary documents for the proposal submitted by Midwest Petroleum Equipment in the amount of $362,635.16 to replace the fueling system located at the Public Service Department.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda, less items H and I.
Second.
Okay. Motion and a second for the consent agenda for all items except H and I. Calling the question on consent agenda less H and I. Consent agenda is passed, less H and I. Start with letter H. Mr. Reeker.
I'll defer to
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. I guess I just have a couple questions. Is there going to be anything done with the road that is supposedly there?
Judy.
Or is there anything that we can do or going to do or the developer going to do with the road?
Mayor, council, and you're talking about Cody Avenue, is that
Yes,
what you're
yes,
talking
sorry.
about? So the applicant actually is looking at coming back at a later date and asking to vacate that alley. But due to the sale of the property, they wanted to get this subdivision completed first. And, they're looking at the possibility of vacating that if council,
So it's an alley or a road?
it is a road.
It is a road.
Yeah,
Okay.
Cody Avenue, I believe.
Yeah,
Never been opened. It is dedicated as a road.
okay. Are-
But if you do look out there, you can see that, I think the hotel that's to the east of it has kind of encroached a little bit on that
Yeah.
road. So, yeah,
Is there going to be any other, so there's an entrance off of Rodeo Road.
correct.
Is there gonna be any other entrance or exit for that subdivision, residential?
They can also come off of the north also. So that was 13th Street, 14th Street.
I was just thinking, cause going, to get to that property off the highway, you can only enter going west and you can only leave going west with
Right.
that island there. So I was just
Yep.
curious about that.
Yep.
The other thing is there anything that we can start doing about sidewalks along development, along the highway? I would really like to see sidewalks start to be putting in on properties that are being developed.
And that's funny that you should ask. The mayor asked me the same question either yesterday or earlier today. So I did talk to the applicant. They're planning on putting a sidewalk there anyway. So when I asked him to do so, he had no problem whatsoever.
Awesome. That is great. Thank you. That's all I had.
Thank you. Mr. Reeker, you had number or letter I.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Wayne, were you gonna check and see if this was bid out, or is this fee for?
I'll kind of let Lyle answer that, but yes, the engineering did go and contact a number of cement contractors and got bids on that.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Yes, we had two other bids. One was $7,000 higher and the other was $11,000 higher. So we went with the lowest bid on this.
Excuse me, Lyle. Why is this so expensive? When I looked at the number of
Well,
yards that they're putting in there.
We're putting 8 pads in. They're all 8 10 by 10, 3 foot deep, and that's 11 yards of cement.
I see.
So we have a lot of concrete going there and holding this building up.
So the footings are pretty substantial.
Yes, they are, including the rebar too.
Okay, are we gonna have to dewater that also then?
If we went down 3 foot, we might be able to get by without dewatering. But and we'll wait and see to when we get down and get to it. But
Okay, well, that makes a little more sense, I guess, when I saw that figure and the cost of concrete and even figuring 6-inch concrete for the pad, why? it
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
Look quite right.
yeah, and it'll be a lot of pad because it's a 40 by 60 building too. So it's
Okay,
pretty
thank
good
you.
size. You're very welcome.
Oh, loud. Sorry. Sorry. Other questions or comments?
So 38,000, that's the concrete work. Do you have an estimate for the whole building, what that's gonna cost?
We've already bought the building.
You've already bought the building?
We've already bought
The building was approved by council about a year and a half ago.
Oh. so
November
we're
is
just-
24.
Okay, all right, fair enough. All right, that was my question.
So having said that, excuse me, Lyle, are you guys gonna erect it then?
That is the plan. So I was hoping to maybe have a supervisor hired to help us out, to do that, but we haven't found anybody available right now, so we might have to wing it a little bit on it.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You bet.
Mr. Reeker, would you like to make a motion? Or?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we approve item H and item I on the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Reeker for H&I, second by Nisley for H&I. Further discussion? Calling the question on H&I. H&I are approved. Thank you, everyone. Item number 2, authorize the mayor to negotiate and sign contract for guaranteed maximum price number 3, GMP number 3, and interim industrial wastewater treatment plant with Rice Lake West.
Mayor, I move to authorize the mayor to negotiate and sign a contract for guaranteed maximum price number 3, GMP number 3, an interim industrial wastewater treatment plant with Rice Lake West.
Second.
Motion by Reeker, second by Bowles. Brent, you want to describe briefly what we're doing here? Please.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. What is before you is the summary of some of the discussions as far as the information on the industrial wastewater plant, the 90 to 100% difference in cost, and also the interim plant, which is currently being used to treat sustainable beefs wastewater. Those are what those two items are on there. And I think what was provided was the front pages of the summary of the costs on those two items. And we had some additional supporting data with that as needed. So is there anything else?
Anyone have any questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Ty.
as we amend this agreement with the for the construction, does our agreement with Sustainable Beef just naturally alter, or does that have to come back and be amended as well?
It just naturally alters.
Okay.
The way it's phrased, so.
Thank you.
Rod?
So when this plant gets built, is it gonna only be able to handle the packing plant, or can we have other industries? Is there enough expansion, other industries could use it, or is it just for the packing plant?
As it sits right now, it depends a little bit on where they end up at on actual production. The initial discussions was 1.5 or 1,500 head a day. It's designed up to about 1,875 head a day. So it depends a little bit on where they actually land. With the things that have changed over the last 5 months, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to max out the use of the plant. If that happens, then it would be just for them.
Okay.
It's set up to be expanded. Its designed intent is so that it can be expanded, but what's physically there wouldn't handle any more than what they're currently looking at doing, maximum.
Okay.
Anybody? Ed?
Mr. Mayor, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the payment of that is built into the fees that we're charging, sustainable beef.
Yes, that's correct. Sustainable Beef pays for the plant. Other questions or comments? Seeing none, calling the question on item number 2, please. Item number 2 is passed. Item number 3, second reading and action to adopt ordinance number 4216 to amend ordinance number 4208 relating to paving district number 842. Laying the ordinance, please.
Ordinance number 4216, an ordinance of the city of North Platte, Leakey County, Nebraska, to amend ordinance number 4208 relating to the creation of paving district number 842 on Francis Street from the east side of the intersection of Bryan Avenue and Francis Street, thence east to Devco Avenue, approximately 3,100 feet in the city of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing for the effective date and publication thereof.
Mayor, I move that we adopt ordinance number 4216 to amend ordinance number 4208 relating to paving district number 842 on second reading.
Second.
Motion by Reeker, second by Lucas. Any discussion on item number 3? Brad?
So I apologize, I wasn't here for most of the discussion last meeting, so I might need a little catching up to do on this one. So we're going from 261 acres down to 28.74 acres, which is an 89% decrease in what the assessed acres is going to be. Help me understand why we would increase our risk so significantly.
Doesn't really increase the risk, it decreases the risk. So the first reason that we're making this change is at the request of the developers to simplify the structure for the agreement for payment for Francis Street. And since you weren't here last time, you might have missed this part. Let me grab my map here. When the council sits as the Board of Equalization on this section of the road, all things being equal, what we're going to request is that the funds are attributed on the north side of the road in that 80-20 side, as I have there. So where the west side of McCabe would be 80% of the cost, and 20% would be attributed to the other side. The reason is that the largest asset there is on the 80% side, which is the apartment buildings that are going up right now. And a paving district has first lien on properties, so it's ahead of the bank and everything.
Who is the developer that's doing that apartment building?
It's the Stessman Group, but I
Collaboration or
remember the name
The
of it.
legal name is, I believe it's like NPCRE1 LLC.
And we've talked to them and they're okay with this 80%
Yeah.
assessment.
In fact, just before the last meeting, we had discussion with them to say this is likely the boy said this is what we're going to recommend. Now the council gets to decide, but this is what we're going to recommend.
And so they're building those apartment buildings. Is that TIF? Do they get their portion of the TIF of that? How does that agreement work?
Yes, they're in the TIF zone.
They're getting that part of the TIF. So I would assume they're going to use that TIF for
Yes.
this portion of it. Okay, that answers that question. The 20% acreage, what is the plans there? What's going on?
I don't know there's any firm plan. Does anybody have any? Austin, do you have any information on that?
I think that may be NPCRE2, which is an affiliated entity, but I don't know exactly what the plan is for that area.
Okay.
Other than maybe more multifamily, I believe, I'm not speaking with 100% certainty. I see Judy's nodding her head, but I believe that the plan then is for additional multifamily within that area.
I was told that that's where the new creative collaboration that people have been posting about, some 40 city leaders have decided that that's where the library and some other entities are going to move. Is that a true statement? Is that this land, or do we know?
Well, based on what the collaboration, the group that you're talking about is,
And I'm probably getting the name
that's
wrong,
no,
so-
that's close to the name. They have said that they would like to locate there.
Okay.
However, no property's been transferred, no agreements have been made. The city has not agreed to do anything other than listen to their plan.
Okay.
So,
Well, it's being promoted in the out in the media and other places, like this is a done deal, it's happening. And I haven't talked to anybody that has any like details on what that looks like. And my concern is if we move the library out there and then we've attributed this assessment to it, how does that play? We're assessing our own building essentially, and that gets complicated if we're trying to recoup these losses. So I was just curious if anybody knew anything on how that was going to
yeah, we could easily assess all 100% to the other side too.
to the apartment building.
Yep.
And they're okay with that?
I think so, because I mean, ultimately they all own all the same land. So,
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So I'm going to walk through something and I see this as actually increasing risk because the Fritz Farm subdivision lot 2, block 1 and block 2 are in the original ordinance. So they're already included in what we've agreed upon. Think of it like this is collateral for a mortgage. Like if I was to buy a house, let's say there's a house that's worth $89,000 and a shed that's worth 11,000 on a property. So I go get a loan for $100,000, right? Bank gives me the loan, no problems. We agree to everything. This is an 89% decrease in what the collateral is going to be. That would be like me going to the bank and saying, hey, I know you gave me that loan on the whole property, but really I only want the collateral to be the shed, the 11% of it. So that is a massive increase in risk if the bank were to accept that agreement, because they're reducing 89% of what they can recoup their losses from.
Well, empty property is worth a lot less than the multi-million-dollar multifamily structure.
Right, but that's already included. So we already got the shed. We already have that 11% in the original ordinance. We're not gaining that. That's already in there. We're losing 89%. We're not gaining the 11%. If you read the original ordinance, I wish it was here because it makes it way easier because you can compare and contrast. But I went back and looked it up, and this apartment building is already in the original ordinance. We're just losing 89% of our collateral.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
Brad, I spent a lot of time looking at this because I had some of the same concerns. The different thing about assessments that's a little bit different than a loan is that we were going to be forced to equalize this at some point among all the subdivided lots in that. So you can't cross over an assessment of lot A and lot B if they both exist. You have to basically pick an amount for each lot, correct, when you equalize it. So the benefit of one lot can't help another. And so I think on the surface, it looks like, okay, we had this huge acreage and now all of a sudden we have a much smaller acreage, but the ability to assess 20% of it on the apartment complex, I drove over there today and it's pretty far along. It's based on my experience, it's far enough along that it would be a very small percentage probability it won't get done. At this point, there's enough invested in it, somebody's going to finish it. And so by having an assessment that on that property, as the mayor pointed out, you have that first lien tied back with that property. If we spread it out over all the properties, we'd have a whole bunch of properties that have nothing built on them. And so I think the benefit to the city is that we're targeting that 80-20, and in the last meeting, the owner was here and agreed that would work for him, thinking that would leave some assessment on that additional acreage, hopefully well below its value, and maybe that gets fine-tuned if something's going on with that property. But I think by having 80% of that assessment, the complex is going to probably be worth quadruple or 4, 5, 6, 7 times that. And so you do narrow the collateral, if we want to call it that, to a smaller parcel, but we're getting more assessment on that parcel, if that makes sense.
But theoretically, to your point, we could leave it as is, still assess 80% on the apartment complex, and take that other 20 and spread it over the 220 whatever acres are left over, and it reduces the risk significantly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it does. I think what we've been asked to balance is the hassles they're going to have by trying to work with multiple properties and multiple property owners and how that gets equalized versus what you point out. So where I got comfortable with it in the last meeting was that we would have enough assessed on that property that I thought we were well protected. And then if I look at the remaining assessment on that remaining acreage, to me, it seems like we'd be well protected. And so I felt like, well, if we're well protected, if it makes it easier for the developer to transact business and sell, then what's the damage in that? But I agree there is some risk differential there.
And I'll throw another curveball in here. The developer has agreed to pay for this road through TIF several times, and it's supposed to be coming in a redevelopment contract that we haven't seen yet. How does that all tie into here? Because if I'm understanding this correctly, this is worst case scenario. Like everything else has failed, things are going bad. City's just trying to recoup its losses to pay for the road. Essentially, is what's happening.
Bill?
Well, and just to clarify too, the redeveloper has already agreed to pay for the road as part of the redevelopment agreement.
Right.
So the only thing from what I understand, the only thing that any new amendment to that contract would provide for is the application of the paving district and just reaffirming their responsibility to pay, even though there's a paving district. So it's just gonna clarify things. It's not gonna change from my perspective, it's not gonna change their legal obligation to still pay for the road.
And I agree with you. I'm hopeful that that's what the redevelopment contract is going to state. But if everything is hitting the fan, everything's going sideways, why would we as a city want to reduce or increase our risk by reducing this acreage? I don't see the upside whatsoever for the city. It feels like we're giving away a lot, but gaining nothing. That's my concern.
Well, I think having a lien on the largest asset probably isn't giving away very much.
Well, we could have a lien on the largest assets and everything else out there also.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
I
Go ahead, Brad. Sorry.
I see this as bad governance. I don't see a bank ever reducing their collateral once the papers are signed. It wouldn't make sense to do that. So I feel like this is not in the taxpayers' interest, in my opinion.
Nick?
I thought, last meeting when we voted on this, some of the council members did ask for that amended redevelopment contract. Do we have any status on where that contract is at?
I've been corresponding with both the developer's attorney, and I know the mayor's reached out to the CRA's attorney, and so we're still waiting to see it at this stage, but we're continuing to push to get a copy of that so that we can have it reviewed. And my plan is I'd like to have it in front of council before the third reading would be approved here. So I'm seeking some clarification from the redeveloper's attorney on that.
Well, we're kind of in a not really a bad position, right? But I mean, we're on a time crunch, and I know that some council members want to see to make sure that it's in writing, that amended redevelopment contract. So, I mean, we're trying to push this forward and get it done because of the grant money and everything like that. But I think that's an important thing that we should probably see soon if we can.
I think we made it clear that I made it clear that I won't let this come back on the agenda without that item being first or in front of it.
Yeah.
So
I appreciate that.
yeah. Other questions or comments? Seeing none, calling the question on item number 3. Item number 3 is passed. Item number 4, second reading and action to adopt ordinance number 4245, vacating a portion of an alley located between 621 and 701 East 12th Street. Lane?
Ordinance number 4245. An ordinance of the city of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, vacating an alley described as a portion of the alley located between Lot 32 Hastings Addition to North Platte and Lot 1 Jurgensen Subdivision, North Platte, Lincoln County, providing for the reservation of title of said vacated alley by the city of North Platte, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the effective date and publication thereof.
Mayor, I move to adopt ordinance 4245, vacating a portion of an alley located between 621 and 701 East 12th Street on second reading.
Second.
Motion by Reeker, second by Bowles. And let's see. Any questions or comments on this one? Kind of hashed through it last time, so. Seeing none, calling the question on item number 4. Item number 4 is passed. Item number 5 starts with a public hearing to consider action on application by the Wild West Arena Foundation, Nebraska Land Days for a conditional use permit to allow construction of a new beverage service facility located at 2801 Charlie Evans Drive in an A1 transitional agricultural district. So we'll open the public hearing. Judy, you want to briefly describe what we're doing here, please?
Mayor, council, this is a conditional use application because the Nebraska Land Days area sits in an A1 agricultural district. So buildings that are put in an A1 agricultural district like this require a conditional use permit. What they're doing with this is they are replacing some of the temporary beverage service areas with one that's going to be a permanent fixture.
Thank you. Any questions for Judy? Okay, we have a public hearing open. Anyone wish to comment on this, please approach the microphone and let us know your thoughts.
I move we close public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Vols, second by Dye to close public hearing. Calling the question on closing the public hearing, please. Public hearing is now closed. Council will consider item number 5, which is consider action on an application by Wild West Arena Foundation Nebraska Land A's for a conditional use permit to allow construction of a new beverage service facility located at 2801 Charlie Evans Drive in an A1 transitional agricultural district.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we find the request for the amendment to a conditional use permit to allow construction of a new beverage service facility located at 2801 Charlie Evans Drive meets the minimum standards stated in the North Platte Code of Ordinance Section 156.322 and approve and grant the conditional use permit requested with the condition that all elements of the application are complied with. Based on the following factual findings, the use shall conform to all applicable ordinances, laws, and regulations of any governmental jurisdiction. The use shall have adequate water, sewer, and drainage facilities. Ingress and egress shall be so designated as to minimize traffic congestion in the public streets. The use shall, in all other respects, conform to the applicable regulations of the district in which it is located, and the use shall be in harmony with the character of the area and the most appropriate use of the land.
Second.
Motion by Vols, second by Lucas. Any discussion on this item?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Do we know if this facility has water and sewer?
It don't. I called earlier and talked to somebody, and it's not gonna have water or sewer ran to it.
Mr. Mayor, I would motion that from the motion on the table, we strike the use shall have adequate water and sewer.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion by Lucas, second by Vols to strike. Shall have adequate water and sewer. Any discussion on that? Ed?
Mr. Mayor, how much trouble would it be to have that made into a public restroom? Is there a public restroom there underneath? I guess there's one underneath the bleachers, so
It'd be a lot of trouble.
there should be absolute restroom facilities close by, so.
Porta potties.
You got a comment, Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
Yeah, my intent wasn't to tell them they couldn't have sewer and water. My intent was that I didn't think it was included in the plan that it wouldn't be required for the conditional use permit.
Makes sense.
So are they just gonna be handing out bottled beverages? Are they gonna have, beer on tap? Or, I guess my question is, how do you do hand sanitation without any water?
Bill? Alcohol and things like
The
that.
water's
right?
cold enough, they
You
don't
gotta
need
drink
it.
it.
I believe they have portable hand sanitizing areas. They're
Okay.
portable.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Other-
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
I drove out there today to see exactly, looking at the map and everything, and they've already started on a facility out there. Is that this one that we're talking about?
I didn't drive out there, so I don't know.
I just drove by and there's a structure started up in the air.
Judy, you have any insight here?
I don't know if I really have the insight because I can't tell you 100% for sure. But Nebraska Land Days, sometimes they don't know when they have to get a permit because they are in an ag district. It depends on what they're doing. So, I mean, there's a possibility. I'm not going to tell you no, it's not. There is a
Okay.
possibility that they started without first getting the permit, but
Okay. I just, from the map that we had here, it looked like that's the building that they've already started.
and it is a possibility, but they are doing the right thing.
Well, if we don't approve it, we'll go make them tear it down.
Just asking.
Other questions or comments? Seeing none, calling the question on number 5, please.
Is this just the amendment?
Nope, I'm sorry, to amendment, sorry. Okay, amendment is passed. Back to the original question as amended. Any further discussion? Seeing none, calling the question on item number 5 as amended. Item number 5 is amended as passed. Okay. Thanks to Judy, we have a whole bunch of public hearings tonight, so. We're going to combine public hearing on item number 6 and number 7 since they are essentially the same subject. Oops. Yep, there we are. There we are. Okay, sorry. A little bifocal failure going on over here. Okay. Public hearing. We're going to consider both item 6 and 7 at the same time. Amend the City of North Platte Comprehensive Plan 2011 Future Land Use Map, amending certain land from agricultural/vacant to residential low-density single-family on property located at 492 West North River Road. And then item number 7 is first reading and action to adopt ordinance number 4246 to rezone certain land from an A1 transitional agricultural district to an RL suburban residential district located at 492 West North River Road. Lane, you want to read that ordinance, please?
Ordinance number 4246. An ordinance of the City of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, rezoning certain lands described as Lot 1, Gutschenritter, First Subdivision, Lincoln County, Nebraska, from an A1 transitional agricultural district to an RL rural dwelling district, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the effective date and publication thereof.
Thank you.
Mayor, I move to.
Oh, hold on, Ed, we got to do the public hearing. Thank you, but appreciate your vigor, but hold on. Okay. Opening the public hearing for both items number 6 and number 7. If you'd like to make a comment on either of these items, please approach the microphone. Tell us who you are and where you live, and we'll be happy to hear your comment. Just for the record books, we usually wait about 10 seconds, and if no one's moving, usually someone makes a motion.
I move we close public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Vols, second by Dye to close the public hearing, calling the question and closing the public hearing. Public hearing is now closed. Council will now consider amending the City of North Platte Comprehensive Plan 2011 Future Land Use Map, amending certain land from agricultural vacant to residential low-density single-family on property located at 492 West North River Road.
Mr. Mayor, I move to amend the City of North Platte Comprehensive Plan 2011 Future Land Use Map, amending certain land from agricultural/vacant to residential low-density single-family on property located at 492 West North River Road.
Second.
Motion by Vols, second by Reeker. Judy, you want to give us a little bit of information on items number 6 and 7 here?
Okay, so item number 6 that you have in front of you is the amendment to the comprehensive plan. In order to rezone a property, the first thing you have to do is make sure that the zoning is in conformance with the comprehensive plan. In this instance, the comprehensive plan showed it as agricultural, and what they are looking at doing is changing that to a residential. The reason they have to change it to residential is by splitting it in half, which is what they're looking at doing. That now makes it no longer able to be agricultural property because it's less than 10 acres. So it has to be rezoned to something. The logical thing being in a suburban area of North Platte, which is in the 1 mile, so it's outside city limits. It's within the 2 mile jurisdiction of the city of North Platte. A suburban residential makes sense. So as you can see from the map on item number 7, that does show you that there are some areas zoned residential that are in pretty near proximity to the area being requested. So their intent is there is an existing home on that site right now. Their intent is to split that and have the ability to build another home on the neighboring site. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to help. I don't see the applicant in the audience. So.
Go ahead, Ty.
Judy, do they intend to try to do anything with the floodway or floodplain there? Are we going to be seeing anything on that, or are they able to work around that with their project?
So they know that the structures would have to be built essentially on the north side of the project, pretty close to the road because of the floodplain that's in there. But yes, it can be done.
Thank you.
Nick, go ahead.
Thank you. So there's a house there already, but to build another house, they have to split it, or that's the reason why they're wanting to split it?
Yes.
Okay.
We only allow one residential structure per property or per parcel. Sometimes you can go through a conditional use to get something, but I believe their intent is to sell this one and build another one.
Okay.
Other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, calling the question on item number 6, please. Item number 6 is passed. Item number 7. Continuing along the same line, first reading and action to adopt ordinance number 4246 to rezone certain land from an A1 transitional agricultural district to an RL suburban residential district located at 492 West North River Road.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt ordinance number 4246 to rezone certain land from an A1 transitional agricultural district to an RL suburban residential district located at 492 West North River Road on first reading.
Second.
Motion by Reeker, second by Dye. Any discussion on item number 7?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Dye.
I'd motion to waive the additional 2 readings on this particular item.
Second.
Motion by Lucas, second by McNew to waive the 3 readings. Waive the second 2 readings. Motion and a second. Any discussion on waiving the readings? Calling the question on waiving the readings. Motion passed. Readings are waived. So if passed, this will be passed in one motion. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, calling the question on number 7 as amended. Number 7 is passed as amended. Thank you, everyone. Moving on to another public hearing. We have a public hearing for item number 8, and again, we will combine number 9 with it, the public hearing part. What? No, we're going to hold on. Okay. So, public hearing to amend the City of North Platte Comprehensive Plan 2011 Future Land Use Map, amending certain land from residential medium density and multifamily to commercial on property located 2200 East 2nd Street. And we'll also talk about first reading and action to adopt ordinance number 4247 to rezone certain land from an R3 dwelling district to a B2 highway commercial district located at 2200 East 2nd Street. Lane, the ordinance, please.
Ordinance number 4247, an ordinance of the City of North Platte, Leakey County, Nebraska, rezoning certain lands described as a tract of land in Lot 64, Platte View, North Platte, Leakey County, Nebraska, from an R3 dwelling district to a B2 highway commercial district, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the effective date and publication thereof.
Mr. Mayor, I move to amend the City of North Platte Comprehensive Plan.
Public
2011.
hearing.
Ed, public hearing, sorry.
Here we go.
Are you ready?
We will do our best to hurry through the meeting for you, Ed. Okay.
Halfway done.
Yeah, okay. All right, public hearing is open. If anyone would like to make a comment on either item number 8 or number 9, please approach the microphone, tell us who you are and where you live, and we'll be happy to hear your comment. Please try to keep it under 5 minutes. Hello.
My name is Mark. Hi, my name is Mark Grubbs. I live on 2213 Burlington Boulevard, directly to the south of this lot that is requesting a zoning change. And I object to this zoning change. Increased traffic, increased dust. I see no other lands around there on that side of the street that accommodate commercial business, other than the children's home. But more importantly, I guess we have zoning laws so that people who don't want to live in a commercial district don't have to. And I don't want to live in a commercial district or be on the outskirts of a commercial district. So I urge the city council to not change the current zoning at 2200 East 2nd Street. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grubbs. Would anyone else like to make a comment on this item? Either item number 8 or item number 9?
Good morning. Tracy Martinez, West 9th Street. I agree with Mr. Grubbs. That's not a place to make commercial businesses. I'm sure all that land up there, somebody would want to develop it for housing, which we all want housings. And to bring all that traffic in on 2nd Street, you're going to have to do the ditches and everything sometime. It's just not an idea. I'm sure the people who own that land would love to put houses there, but it's not a good place for a commercial district. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to make a comment? Item number 8 or number 9? Going once, going twice.
I move we close public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Vols, second by Reeker to close public hearing. Calling the question on closing the public hearing, please. Public hearing is now closed. Council will now consider item number 8, which is amending the City of North Platte Comprehensive Plan 2011 Future Land Use Map, amending certain land from residential medium density and multifamily to commercial, to commercial on property located at 2200 East 2nd Street.
Mr. Mayor, I move to amend the City of North Platte Comprehensive Plan 2011 Future Land Use Map, amending certain land from residential medium density and multifamily to commercial on property located at 2200 East 2nd Street.
Second.
Motion by Reeker, second by Lucas. Thank you. Judy, do we have a picture of this?
You want my old school picture, or do you want the one on the computer?
Oh, let's
The
do
same one.
let's do both.
Okay.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
So now it's saying it's empty.
Boy, the technology's great when it works.
Says the folder is empty. They told me just to click on that, but, huh?
Hit the refresh button.
Guarantee you I can't sign in.
Okay, let's just go with the old
Okay,
school
we'll just go with the
picture,
old
so-
school
Okay.
picture. Okay. So here, let me make sure I got it. Okay. I'll show the audience here after that, but anyway, here is the map of the area. And all these colorful little lines are different zoning districts in this area. So over here is industrially zoned. This is Bicentennial that comes down here. This is all your R3 district currently. This is an R1, and then this is B2. Now, just so that you know, there has been another request put in that hasn't been in front of you yet. It will be next month for this area also to become commercial. So this area and this area, and you've got the boys and girls home here. And again, industrial, this is a mobile home park. So this area has a lot of different zoning right next to each other. This is a very large lot, little over an acre and a half. But that's what they're looking at doing.
Judy? Can I ask you a question, Judy? Is at that home, is that still where the diversion program is housed? So is there a decent, there's a fair amount of traffic to that facility? Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
And remember, Bicentennial is down here on the south side, and it's got
Right.
that median in there, so
Right.
you can only go the one direction on that side.
Burlington.
Burlington.
Yeah, in
Sorry,
Burlington.
Burlington, and then the other direction on the south.
Right. And then Johnson Road looks like an alley, but it's actually a road. Is that right? Or
Johnson Road will probably eventually not be a road at
Okay.
some point. It's a very half road, kind of semi-used, semi-maintained.
okay.
My guess is eventually.
Why don't you give your spiel to the audience real quick here? Okay.
So here is the area. All of the different colors are the different zoning districts in this area. This is Bicentennial running up here. All of this area is zoned light industrial. This area in here is all commercial. This, of course, is the mobile home park that's zoned as a mobile home park. This is all currently zoned as R3. This is the proposed area to be rezoned to a B2, and this area is in process of requesting being rezoned. Boys and girls home is here. Burlington runs this one.
Thank you. We have questions. Rod, go ahead.
So I got on the internet and I'm more confused than I was when I was looking. But on the B2, if something happens that he decides to sell that down the road, is everything that I saw listed under B2, like garden centers, car washes, is that what's all allowed in that B2?
Yes, so when you rezone a property to whatever zoning district you zone it to,
Okay.
yes, technically, everything that's in there could be allowed. Now,
So I
it's
could
gonna
have a hotel
depend,
in there, a restaurant, printing business,
it's a possibility.
garden centers, okay. And the person that's wanting it rezoned is gonna use it for a construction site? Is that
So
build a
what,
building?
yes, what he wants to do is use it for an office and contractor storage. And the applicant is in the audience if you would like to have him explain more, but from what I understand, he is going to fence the entire perimeter, essentially on 3 sides, east, west, and south. So that way it's gonna enclose the actual, business office space and storage. He is going to either pave or use some sort of hard surface to make sure that there's no dust with vehicles that may or may not come in and out. But it would be a contractor's office. I'm trying to think of one that would be similar but off the top of my head, I can't, but we have several where they have their contractor's
Could be
office
like an
space.
electrical shop, like.
Yeah, electrical, plumber,
Like Platte
you know.
Valley Electric
Yep.
and those down on Front
Yep.
Street. Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead,
Judy?
Ty.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead,
No,
Jim.
go
if you'd
ahead,
like. Maybe I'd like you to walk us through they probably could have achieved this in an industrial zoning, but I assume, and I know it was a split planning commission vote or a tight planning commission vote. So is the idea here to use B2 so we can put the restrictions, for lack of a better term, the requirements, I guess, in with the fence, and that it specifies it as a contractor's office in the conditional use permit? Is that right?
Yes. Had we looked at doing it as an I-1, which light industrial is in very close proximity, as you can tell from this map, kind of, it's skewed a little bit, but it's in close proximity to it. So you could have went with an I-1. If you go with an I-1, they can come in, get their permit, go through the permitting process, plan review, you're done. With the B2, then that would flip them into a conditional use permit. So the only way that a contractor's office is allowed in a B2 is through that conditional use permit, which then does allow you to put some controls on there. And Planning Commission did ask for there to be controls as the privacy fence, the hard surfacing, and you are always able to add more.
Okay. So if they sold the property to somebody who wanted to have a different use, they could forego the conditional use permit and go back to legal B2 uses, or they could comply with the conditional use permit. Is that kind of
Correct.
generally how that works? Okay. Thanks.
Jim?
My only concern is the street.
Mhm.
That east second there is this thing we run into down with, on Eugene. It's a single asphalt 2-lane, no sidewalks, narrow street. And, are we gonna have a bunch of businesses down there, and then we're gonna have to deal with that road, because it's not gonna be adequate, I don't think.
I was trying to look and see how wide that was, and I can't see the measurement, but I think it's an average city road, which is typically, that's a 40-foot wide right of way on there. So that's kind of, it's not, a lot of our roads run 66, but 40 foot is adequate for your 2 drive lanes. We have several 40-foot wide streets in town, so it's not overly small.
Yeah, I know, but if they're
Yeah.
bringing trucks down there and stuff, that's a pretty narrow. I had a family member that phoned me one day, and it was icy, and ran the vehicle off the road on that road. It is pretty narrow. And that's really my concern. If this site was close to, at the end of the street, where they'd be right on Centennial, or I don't know which.
Bicentennial.
Bicentennial. Is it east or west of the Children's?
It's
West.
just on the west side.
So
The
it's
Children's is
here,
right,
63,
yep.
That's where that's at.
Yep.
Adjacent, yeah.
I support development, on this, but the thing of it is, I think that street is really inadequate. If we allow one there and they have more, we're gonna run into an issue. That street's just not adequate. That's just my thought. The concerns about that. Yes.
And I share your concerns, because when you're looking at zoning, you can't look at the business that's going in there. One of our first council meetings that I ever was on, there was a lot where an electrician wanted to do a light industrial thing. It's 6 blocks from my house. Oh, he's a nice guy. He's gonna do this beautiful thing. It passed. Well, now it's still an empty lot. It's changed hands several times. And now a chemical plant could be placed 6 blocks from my house because it's light industrial, and that's the way it is. A friend of mine's half a block away, so he's really not happy with the situation. So you honestly can't look at who the current person is. You have to look at all of the spectrum of what can go in there. So you start, looking at B2 and traffic and things of that nature, like you're talking about. You could have some real problems, especially if you get 2 or 3 more, like you're talking about, bringing down the road, trying to get that traffic in and out of there. It's gonna be a nightmare, I think.
Pete, did you have a comment?
Yeah, Judy, I watched Planning Commission meeting, good dialogue on that. Would you please explain the conversation that you guys were having if we kept it as an R3 and what the potential for
Well,
that lot is?
A potential in an R3, there's several different things that you could do with it. R3 does allow for multifamily residential. So you could ultimately end up with an apartment complex, and that lot is large enough, being over an acre, that you could get quite a few apartment dwellings on that lot with adequate parking. So when you're talking about traffic, I do understand the truck traffic is a little bit different than single car traffic, but the amount of traffic with an apartment complex could be quite a bit more as far as cars in and out of there. The other thing that could be done is you could go in there, maybe, I don't know if it's quite large enough for a cul-de-sac, but you could probably divide it up into several different lots, and they could do duplexes or triplexes. A multitude of different types of residential structures could go on there. These properties, these in particular, have set undeveloped for quite a few years. I mean, like decades. So.
You guys also talked about a barn dominium at one, something,
Yeah,
something
so-
to that effect, and to alleviate the conditional use. Would you mind explaining that?
So barn dominiums become pretty tricky. Barn dominiums are allowed in residential districts. What we have found with individuals that do barn dominiums, and I don't want to upset anybody, but what they tend to do is they keep a small portion of that structure as a residential structure, and they use the rest of it for storage. Now, whether it's personal storage or whether it's not personal storage, I don't go ask people to open their garage and look into their barn dominium to see what they're storing in there. So I just felt that this was a much better way of going with the commercial, with the conditional use, so they can do their contractor's office instead of having, not that they would do this at all, but instead of having somebody do a barn dominium and end up with the same thing illegally.
Thank you.
But if it was illegal, we could do something about it. I mean, the term illegal leads you to that conclusion, correct?
Yep, then you have a zoning violation, which takes a long time to correct.
Correct.
Other questions or Nick?
So these properties over there, it looks, there's two of them that are empty, and then one on the corner, I believe, that surround that youth facility. Is it in our comp plan to start developing that as business property, or what are the other pieces of land going to be? Are they going to remain R3? What direction are we looking to move towards in that area over there?
Our current comprehensive plan shows them as multifamily residential. That's what our current comprehensive plan shows. We are in the process of doing a new comprehensive plan, new zoning regulations. We've looked at that area multiple times. If you look on the highest and best use of those properties, the one that abuts Bicentennial, I could definitely see as commercial or industrial very, very easily, because right across the street is industrial. You're abutting a mobile home park. Not that there's anything wrong with mobile home parks, but you have more traffic. You have more people in and out, which is more of a high density type residential, which is more conducive to abutting a commercial property than it is a single family residential home. So it's kind of a roundabout answer. I'm not really answering your question because I can't tell you yes today.
Yeah.
I would tell you it's commercial because we're still going through that process with the comprehensive plan.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I'm just trying to make sense of everything, because on the east side of Bicentennial, on that corner of Phillip and Bicentennial, I mean, we changed that to RM for mobile home park. And then I can see it going both ways. If this was on the north side of the street, I could see it a lot easier being B2. But where it's on the south side of the street, it's kind of challenging for me. And then on that earlier agenda item that is prime commercial real estate is R3, right? So I'm just trying to make sense of everything. But I'm not really worried about the current owners on this property. It's always the future and down road to where it is B2. I mean, I know that the applicants are going to keep it clean and they're going to be pretty respectful of the neighbors. But if something happens to that land, it's B2 forever. And that's what I'm concerned about as well. So,
Well, and it may not be B2 forever. You're proposing to change it now, so
Yeah.
you know that zoning and comprehensive plans are living, breathing documents, and they change as your world changes around you. So, I mean, in 5 years, it's hard to say what that area may be.
Well, and I feel like if it's B2 and it gets sold years down the road, I don't know if anybody's gonna really want to change it back to residential. I mean, I always see it more apt to change from residential to commercial than back to residential. But, so on how do we, I guess you say that if it stays residential, it'd be hard to control it if they put a barn dominium and everything like that. How do we control it if it's B2 other than the conditional uses, 20 years down the road, if it starts, collecting stuff on the property that may be an eyesore to residents? How do you put a handle on that and control that kind of stuff?
I might let Bill jump in a little bit, but a conditional use permit's a little bit easier to control because you as a council honestly can have them come back in front of you once a year if you want to. You can put that condition on there. If they miss any of those conditions that are on there, if they don't put up a fence, for example, or whatever it is that you put on there, you can call them in front of planning commission and you can take that conditional use away. So you have a little bit more teeth than what you do with like a zoning violation. Zoning violations, I think, end up in district court. I don't.
Yeah, generally, zoning violations are handled a lot in the same manner as the nuisance violations, where typically it starts out as a fine, trying to give the property owner an opportunity to remedy the situation. So before we would go in and get some kind of an order to fix the zoning violation, that would require a court order that would authorize us to go in and do something, say like tear down a building. That is a possibility, but just the way that we've handled it is it typically starts out fine, progresses from there, but as with all court proceedings, they all take time. And to Judy's point with the conditional uses, the idea behind a conditional use, granted, that's not what we're looking at right now. Right now, it's just the zoning change, but we can't get to the conditional use unless the zoning is changed. But the idea behind the conditional use is that it allows the council to make determinations as to any additional conditions that council would see fit to attach to that particular property in order to, say, protect the surrounding properties, or to protect public health and safety, those types of things. So you have a lot of latitude when it comes to attaching conditions on a conditional use. And the reason behind that is you can tailor that to fit the needs of the community.
Ty?
I spent a long time looking at this one, just so you guys know, and I can appreciate where Mr. Grubbs' testimony's at. Here's my assessment of this, is that you've got 2 or 3 homes on Burlington that are right to the south of this. There is a road between there that's really more like an alley than a road, that are really nice. If you take other than those 2 or 3 homes, you have a lot of dilapidation of surrounding properties going on. You can tell there's some very nice owner occupied homes, and then there's some homes that are not near as good a condition on this block. You go to the west of this property and you have kind of a combination of agricultural, salvage, kind of commercial, semi-commercial activity going on there. I don't know exactly everything they're doing on the property, but there's residential, there's some animals, there's a lot of equipment, there's what appears to be some salvage equipment. And then if you go to the east of this property, you've got a fairly high traffic. It's just not a girl and boys home where people live. There's actually quite a bit of inflow and outflow, I think, every day. The road issue is a concern, but I don't think a really high traffic business would desire to locate here. And so then I came back to, well, why didn't they seek industrial zoning? And I think what the Planning Commission was trying to do, without me trying to read their minds, was to protect what happened over on Front Street, which is still one that sits in my craw. I know it does Pete's as well. Is that on that one, we went for the industrial zoning because we had a lot of those, and we flipped it with the assumption they were going to follow through. Well, in retrospect, I wish we would have done this and then turned around and zoned it industrial after the project was done at a later point in time. That's a strategy that I don't know that we considered it until you have something like that happen. And so, I don't know, I've looked at this from all angles, and I don't think the impact will be that pour on the neighborhood, because the alternative would be that you wait it out over time and you ultimately probably are doing a redevelopment project for duplexes or multifamily that would have significant traffic impacts on the ground. If you go to some of our other areas, like if you go north of here, or if you go towards Front Street, if you go to the other areas, we are starting to see a little bit of commercial leak a block over from those main thoroughfares, and this is a little bit of a similar situation, but it's a tough one. I can understand why the planning commission was split on this one.
Pete?
Judy, you said the applicant is here, Mr. Gonzalez. Would you mind approaching the stand? Thank you. And state your name and address if you don't mind for the record.
Alex Gonzalez, 101 Prairie Road.
Thank you. Real quick, there is a picture here, and it's a rudimentary picture. If you don't mind, and I read through the planning commission's conditions, I'm kind of jumping ahead to that a little bit. We have to go through a couple other steps first. But can you paint a picture of what this lot will look like once you're done with it? I see you have a building here.
Yeah, we're basically planning on putting a building to store our equipment that we have. And then we'll have fencing up and down the alley side, up against Rosenoff's and the Boys and Girls Home, which will be fenced all the way around with a privacy fence. So
Okay.
people can't get into the property. Basically, all we're trying to do is just have a place to run our business out of. Right now, we're on 1821 Rodeo Road, and we are out of room
Okay.
where we park our trailers. We have a lot of nice trailers. We don't have enough room to park them in between these two buildings. So we're just looking to expand a little bit. The most you're gonna see outside is trailers, which that's about the gist of it. As far as like dust and stuff that we're gonna have there, after the construction is done, we don't usually run our equipment around just to play with outside. They're usually at a job site or they're not making us money. So.
Okay. I get a better picture. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Nick, Ed, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Gonzalez, what kind of construction are you doing?
We do anything from paving to we build post frame buildings, we do fencing, we do all sorts of general construction.
So you might have like a backhoe and a skid steer and
We have we don't have a backhoe. We have a mini excavator and 2 skid steers. And that's it.
dump trucks or anything like that.
Dump trailers.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Brad?
What would it cost, going back to Judy, or probably Brent maybe, what would it cost to bring that section of road up to handle what any of the B2 spectrum could come in there? Because it sounds like you got at least one more, possibly more, looking to come in here. What would that look like as far as dollars?
Well, as far as dollars, I mean, that could get into probably $800 a linear foot type of cost. But to give you an idea, as far as some comparison, East 8th Street, if you go from Poplar east on 8th Street, there's Shimmin, there's houses on the north side. And I'm not saying this is a good idea, but just as far as a reference, there's a lot of industrial. That's the old industrial park. South side is south side of 8th Street. You go from Shimmin, Charlie's, North Platte Plumbing, follow along there. And then there's residential on the north. We had similar on 6th Street. And now whether or not we'd set it up and design it that way from the beginning to function that way is one question. The other question is how's it functioned for 40 or 50 years? So, I mean, from a standpoint, I think we could maintain it, for traffic, depending on the type of traffic. But, I mean, we have quite a few asphalt roads that handle similar types and volume of traffic.
So you're saying the current width could handle it, even with big trucks and...
Yeah, and I'm saying 8th Street right now, if you go look we have plumbing contractor, Shimmin goes in and out on 8th Street.
It's the same width as what we're
Yes,
talking about?
correct.
Okay.
I mean, just from a functional side. Now,
8th Street has sidewalks, and doesn't it?
No.
Not there?
Mm-mm.
No.
no, like, not where Charlie's is at, not where Shaben's is at.
It's got a big irrigation ditch, I
Yes,
think.
there's ditches on both sides, and also we have, the barricade, the interstate barricade company.
CSI.
Yeah, CSI is right down there on 8th Street, and they have quite a bit of traffic. So, again, whether it's ideal or not, I'm just saying from a functional side, we have functional examples as far as the street goes. We might have some things as far as maintenance goes, but as far as if we wanted to do a rebuild, it would be comparable to what we did on 8th Street, West 8th Street, or 9th Street, excuse me, what we did on 9th Street from Sheridan over to Buffalo, and also Lakeview. That was a rebuild that we did out there as far as what we've done to get it up to like a city section.
But do you think you can handle a B2 section of B2?
Yeah, with what's being, with what we have out there for the amount of traffic, I think the street could handle it. It would probably be looking at an overlay, maintenance overlay at some point, but as far as the load again, I thought it was a good point that we're not looking at who's going there, we're looking at B2.
It makes a difference.
And so with the size of the lot and things, I still think it would be adequate.
Other questions or comments? Seeing none, calling the question on item number 8, please. Oops, we got to go back. Hold on. Yep. There we go. Calling the question, item number 8, please. Attorney.
It says 4-3, right?
Mm-hmm. It does, yeah.
Just double checking.
Feel your pain.
Yeah, well, an amendment to the comp plan isn't a resolution or an ordinance, and so, with a 4-3 vote, it is a majority of the council. Give me 1 minute, I'm just gonna pull up the statute to be sure.
Next one. We will pause briefly while we consult the statutes. Did you hear that the gentleman that invented the smoothie died? Tragedy, yes. The question is whether he be strawberried or blueberried or poison-berried. I know, it's a terrible joke, I know. Something had to break the silence.
We'd rather you sing.
No, you wouldn't.
Trying to distract me from reading statutes.
I
here.
apologize.
Yeah,
Okay,
you're
I'll shut
fine.
up.
So, Nebraska Revised Statute 16401 states that an affirmative vote of not less than 1/2 of the elected members shall be required for the transaction of any business. So 4 votes is not less than 1/2 of the elected members. And since the amendment of the comp plan is not a resolution or an ordinance or an order for the payment of money, it doesn't require that higher, the higher number of votes. So 4-3 does allow for the passage of the amendment to the comp plan.
All right. Item number 8 is passed. Moving on to item number 9. First reading and action to adopt ordinance number 4247 to rezone certain land from an R3 dwelling district to a B2 highway commercial district located at 2200 East 2nd Street. And Lane, you read the ordinance already, correct?
Correct.
We've already done the public hearing.
Mr. Mayor, I'd move to adopt ordinance number 4247 to rezone certain lands from an R3 dwelling district to a B2 highway commercial district located at 2200 East 2nd Street on first reading.
Second.
Motion by Lucas, second by Vols. Same subject. This is the actual ordinance to rezone this piece of property. Anyone have any further questions or comments? Seeing none, calling the question on item number 9, please. Same scenario.
So being an ordinance, it does require a higher number of votes in order for passage. So under Nebraska Revised Statute 16404, the mayor is authorized to vote on this in order to achieve the
Necessary number of votes.
necessary number of votes, depending on how the mayor would vote. But you are authorized to vote on this matter.
I always get stuck with the hard ones. All right, I vote in favor. Item number 9 passes. On first reading. Item number 10 is removed because we'll have to wait until item number 9 has been read at least a couple more times. Item number 11. It opens with a public hearing. First reading and action to adopt ordinance number 4248 to amend the City of North Platte Code of Ordinances, Section 156.144, Special Design Criteria for RM Mobile Home Parks to add G4. Laying the ordinance, please.
Ordinance number 4248, an ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, amending chapter 156 zoning section 156.144, special design criteria for RM mobile home park, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the effective date and publication thereof.
Thank you. So we're opening the public hearing on item number 11. If you'd like to make a comment on item number 11, please approach the microphone. Give us your thoughts.
I move we close public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Vols, second by Reeker to close public hearing. Calling the question on closing the public hearing. Public hearing is now closed. Council will now consider item number 10, 11. First reading and action to adopt ordinance number 4248 to amend the City of North Platte Code of Ordinances, Section 156.144, Special Design Criteria for RM Mobile Home Parks to add G4.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt ordinance number 4248 to amend City of North Platte Code of Ordinances, Section 156.144, Special Design Criteria for RM Mobile Home Parks to add G4 on first reading.
Second.
Motion by Reeker, second by Vols. Judy, just a second. Judy, you want to describe what we've got going on here, please? And then I promise, Nick, I'll give you the first comment.
She might answer the question anyway.
Okay.
So this, what you see before you is just an amendment to our current regulations for design criteria for mobile home parks. This is not striking anything. It's not taking anything out. It is just providing for an additional option. So if someone were to create a mobile home park, they would have different options of providing safety for a mobile home park. So one of ours is a storm shelter built to FEMA standards. And then this would be, in lieu of that, would be an option to essentially permanent foundations for, or permanent set downs for mobile homes, as long as those mobile homes are designed to a certain criteria, which is regulated under HUD, which requires them to be built to certain HUD standards and then placed on a more permanent foundation. I do have some experts in the audience that can talk about those types of foundations better than I can, because I am not an engineer or a contractor, but.
Let's hear from the experts.
Okay.
Where are your experts? There we go. I think we have pictures too, should we need them, right?
Yeah, we have a picture of the actual possibility of the manufactured home, what it would look like. And then I do have some information on the, what they call helical piers.
Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Tell us who you are, please.
Mike Morrow. I'm with Chief Industries, Bonnevilla in Aurora.
Thank you. Why don't you tell us about what your plan is here?
Well, the permanent foundation that Judy described is essentially specified through the HUD program as meeting professional engineering design standards for lateral and vertical anchor or tie down in order to essentially create a permanent foundation that would be equivalent to having a home that's permanently attached, any home that's permanently attached, all the same.
Okay. So could you describe in some detail how that works for us? Without getting too technical, we're not engineers, so.
I'm not either, so I
Okay.
won't. Typically, it's two different types. One is a elliptical pier system where you have metal anchorage that is augured down deep into the ground and then attached to the house in the steel frame in various locations. The other system, alternatively, which either way you do it is essentially the same engineering design standard, but it would have concrete piers and then anchored systems that run laterally and across the foundation, attaching it in different places. One has basically concrete piers, that set footings that are set in the ground, and the other just has, as I said, metal anchors that are augured down into the ground.
Roughly how far do they auger the anchors in the ground?
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but they typically go beneath the frost depth, so they go pretty deep.
Okay. Nick, you had the first question.
Thank you.
Oh, unless it was already answered, I'm sorry.
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, kind of, yeah. So what is the cost offsetting, I guess, versus, so how much more cost is it to anchor the alternative way versus the traditional way? Let's just go with that. Is there a cost analysis on, is it?
I guess I'm not, what do you mean by the traditional way?
Well, so I guess what I'm asking is if you just set the manufactured home down and why would you not anchor it that way anyway?
If you're in a completely unregulated environment, that's the only reason why you wouldn't do that.
Okay.
But in most environments, that's typically going to be required.
So like on a single lot with a manufactured house, that's typically how they would do it, is the better way, I guess, to say it?
I would say that in most states that have a regulatory environment that requires it to be done to the HUD standard, which not all do, but like in Nebraska, it's specified that you follow that. You're going to have to tie it down in a method that essentially would be one of the professional engineering design standards like this.
So is there any houses or any, manufactured mobile homes that are set in today's world that don't comply with that HUD standard?
I'm sure there are.
Okay.
Just like you would find in an unregulated environment, in an area of no building jurisdiction in some states, or, even in our own state, I'm sure in a completely unregulated environment, you might not meet the state law or what the typical requirements would be. I'm sure that does happen.
Okay. I have some other questions, but I'll wait.
Okay. Go ahead, Brad.
So our current way is to anchor these down in what you're talking about with our current ordinance, correct?
Judy. Or Brent. Maybe I should have made Brent get it.
Yeah, I'm thinking you maybe should have made Brent, but yeah, we do have mobile home set down permits. And you put the mobile homes down, you anchor them to the ground, and then they have skirting that goes around the bottom of them. These are going to be a little bit different because they're introducing what they call that helical pier. And I don't know exactly how that works, but it's supposed to be a more permanent type foundation. Whereas when you're just anchoring them down, you can just pick them up and leave. These take a little more effort to do that, right?
Yeah, that's true. Again, the design standards that the elliptical piers or I would say an equivalent tie down system would be so that the lateral and vertical fastening of the anchorage and the way that the material itself is designed is to the wind load standards that you would typically see in conventional construction. HUD Zone 1, which would be equivalent to the conventional building codes.
Hey, Judy, I think, I'm sorry, Brad, just a second. Let's bring up the pictures, if you would, please. So go ahead, Brad.
Will these have basements? Will they have interior rooms that are, have no exterior windows?
An interior room with no exterior windows. Off the top of my head, the utility room, yes, the answer to that. The current design's not, I think the typical design would have that, yes.
Because my concern is if, even, the mobile home's anchored down, but it sucks everything out of it. That's not really helpful to the people living inside of it, as opposed to a storm shelter, which would be better. You know what I mean?
Don't disagree. Like I said, the anchorage and the fastening of a elliptical pile or the pier and the tie down system would essentially give the same lateral and vertical engineered hold down strength to that house as it would be to a house that is built in a subdivision right now on a typical conventional foundation where you would not have a storm shelter or equivalent, storm thing. So that same risk would exist on the houses that are being built across town.
Right, but typical houses have interior rooms, places you can go, things of that nature, basements, crawl spaces, stuff like that. So is the utility room that you describe, does it have any kind of special support that's going to help in an emergency, a tornado emergency?
Not as currently designed, no.
So you're basically, if a tornado hits it, everything's getting sucked out, probably. The mobile home may be anchored down, but if the roof and everything's gone, that's going to be a problem. And you remove the storm shelter that they could have went to for safety.
Yeah, again, I don't disagree with you, except to say that the engineering and design standards that would exist in that house, if you had a similar house that was built conventionally across town, you would have the exact same risk. Unless you had the coincidental, forethought to design a room in like the way that you're describing, but which is not required.
No, but it is common in conventional housing. Yeah. My house has a basement. We have internal places we can go to. We have forethought. House I lived in town, we had a crawl space we could go into. Those kinds of thoughts are put into that type of, because we do occasionally have bad weather around here.
Since the
I can't get
technology is thwarting you.
Sorry, I can't get the computer to work, so I'm gonna show you this picture. This is a picture of what the proposed manufactured homes would look like. They look quite a bit different than what you would see your typical mobile home, because they don't have they have a foundation around it. It doesn't look like skirting of a typical mobile home. It's very similar to what you would see as a slab on grade type. And when they do slab on grade, they take those houses and anchor them down also. And we've got a number of slab on grade homes in North Platte. They're very similar to that.
Go ahead.
If I may, so
Yeah, only thing that is slab on grade.
We're building conventional houses there. Okay.
So
Judy did consult with some of our peer cities, and like Cardi does not require storm shelters in mobile home parks. Now, I believe if I remember right, 2 of our existing parks have some kind of a shelter. Not sure if they have groundwater, and I'm not sure if you'd really want to go into it. And some of our other parks do not. So it's there's a range of whether they do or don't. And so we're looking at other peer cities, and this adoption or this added section is common as far as giving an either or an optional situation for that. So you know, we could argue all day as far as safety because we know what happens when the wrong storm comes in, you know, with any home. So, but this was something that was common that we did not have in our regulations that we wanted to add. I thought it made sense to add as an option.
I think you can probably sit down for a second.
I had a couple
Oh, hold on, hold on. I lied to you. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Mr. Morrow. So do these properties become real property with this type of attachment, or are they still considered a mobile home and personal property? In other words, does this type of attachment make them mortgage eligible and then they get taxed as real property and the titles go away? Is it that type of process, or like you would put them on a permanent foundation, or do they remain a mobile home and like a personal property type asset?
They could, under certain niche financing that exists for HUD construction, but that's not the intent of the homes as they're to be built in here. But they could, I mean, the foundation system doesn't really affect that, I guess I would say.
Okay. Just a second. Okay. Judy, did you answer the gentleman's question there? Okay. You got your question answered, sir?
Well, I was just pointing out the fact that all these homes need an access port somewhere to get under the house for maintenance, so that could be used for emergency shelter. I was thinking about his word.
Yeah. Thank you. Nick?
I just want to say that, you know, I feel like we want to keep the storm shelters a requirement for the people and the safety of the citizens in these mobile home parks. As somebody who wasn't for this, I was told that we had very good trailer park ordinances or mobile home park ordinances for this exact reason of preventing issues in the future. And so any ordinance change to the mobile home park, I'm not for.
Okay. Go ahead, Judy. You have a point?
Yeah, this isn't striking this isn't striking anything out of the existing ordinance. This is just adding to, in case somebody wants to go in lieu of the shelter. So we're not taking that storm shelter out of there at all. It just gives them an option to choose one or the other.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have other questions or comments? Pete?
Just an observation on this. I am equating it to Mulligan Meadows because they're stick-built homes on a slab on grade. So that's basically what you're doing here with this HELOC system, or someone could do with the HELOC system. I don't know if you guys are doing it or not, but if you do put that stronger structural integrity down and anchor it down more, it's not even an anchor. You're attaching it to that slab on grade. Yeah, obviously there's a lot of different engineering designs that go into a manufactured house, but I think in 2026 they've come a long way. I don't know, and maybe you can explain a little bit on how these houses are designed. I know that manufactured housing, where is the load? And you're not an engineer, but is the load on the walls?
It's a all-encompassing diaphragm.
Okay.
So it's all of it together.
Okay.
And when you say come a long way, also the technical definition of a mobile home, the word or the phrase mobile home technically defines a house that's built prior to the HUD code that was enacted in the 70s, which did not have the same design. It really had unregulated design criteria prior to that. So the manufactured home regulations that are in place now really are, for the design criteria, are quite a bit different. And especially in the, as it pertains to the regulation of the tie downs and the way that the tie downs are actually fastened and attached to the ground, and the way that they're regulated at the national level.
Okay. Thank you.
Nick?
Do this, Judy, do apartment complexes or anything like that, do they have safe rooms or anything in their complexes?
There is no requirement for that to occur.
Do most of them generally have common areas that are quote unquote safe zones or anything like that?
That would be tough. I mean, interior rooms is about the only thing, but there's no requirement that they have to provide a safe shelter or a storm shelter.
I guess
requirement.
I guess where I'm getting at with this point is like the comparison to Mulligan Meadows, I feel is different because that's individual homeowners. They own the house and the property versus a mobile park. They are a tenant and it's a business structure because there's lot rent and everything like that. So I think it's a good business practice to protect the citizens in those parks that don't own the land to have the option of a storm shelter to feel safe. So that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Brad?
Yeah, I gotta agree with you, Nick. This feels less safe to me. You know, no matter how that structure is tied down, having an actual storm shelter that you can go to on someone that you're providing a service to, you're renting to, is a better deal in my opinion. So I think I'm leaning towards being against this also.
If I may, those apartments that are being built right now on basically McCabe and off of Phillip there between Phillip and Francis, those are all wood frame. And Brent, do you know, I don't think there's any type of storm or shelter built into those structures. There is there. I mean, that's a similar thing. It's an apartment complex, and that's a wood structure. So just to compare apples to apples, if you will.
Yeah, that's correct. On the building plans, I think they're just rooms and like apartments and then a hallway. So there are interior rooms, but that's about it.
But they don't have any special
No.
wall structures or anything like that.
It's very similar to a hotel construction. The hotels are similar in that respect as well.
But apartments and hotels are gonna have, in case of emergency, go this direction to this hall, you know, it's gonna be an interior, you know, section. Like they have those things in place, at least the ones I've ever lived in.
But here again, they don't have any special criteria for those hallways. It's not like it's built for storm. It's just no windows, but it's not. When Nick had mentioned some of these homes are being built with like an actual storm room, those hotels or these apartments don't have an actual criteria for that. It's just the walls.
Right.
I see what you're saying, Brad, but it's not a special structure made to withstand a higher wind load than the rest of the building.
I understand, but it's also not a mobile home, just because the foundation and the structure, you know, if everything gets sucked out of there, it doesn't matter how much the foundation's screwed to the ground.
Same as a slab built home.
Go ahead, Ed.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Judy. Our current regulations, do we have some kind of requirement that we have to have a safe shelter within so many feet? What's the farthest distance the shelter can be from the farthest away home?
In a mobile home park?
In a mobile home park, sure, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna have to look at the regulations, because I don't know that exact distance, but, there is a distance in the regulations that say that, and I'm sorry, I apologize. I don't know that exact distance. The, city attorney might be looking it up for me. But that's another thing to think of too, is where placement of a shelter. If you require that in a mobile home park and you have an extremely large parcel of ground, you're gonna have to run quite a distance to get there.
So our city code, in answer to your question, Councilman Rico, our city code doesn't specify it. It kind of passes it off to what FEMA requires. And so I don't know what the FEMA regulations are because I haven't looked those up, but it basically says that the shelter has to be located in an area as directed by FEMA. So FEMA sets the parameters as to how far away that storm shelter would need to be.
Well, if that's a FEMA requirement, can we get around it?
We don't have to adopt the FEMA requirement. There are other jurisdictions that don't require shelters. So we could have a mobile home park and not require a shelter. We're not mandated to require that shelter.
Singing my song there.
So, Judy, just ballpark, we have 11 mobile home parks in our city? Or
Probably pretty close.
okay. How many of them have a shelter? I can think of
I
two.
would say 2 that I'm aware of.
Okay.
And one of those, I would not get in the shelter.
You're a little sensitive about spiders, so that's
But I'm not crawling under my crawl space either, so I'm gonna be in the ditch, just so you know. But
okay. Ed, sorry, Ed, I interrupted you. Do you have one?
Well, I guess, from a practical standpoint, I don't know how big of a mobile home park you folks are talking about, but you get a pretty good sized park, you're gonna have to be a track star to get to the shelter before the storm gets there. And I'm not a track star, so I guess I'm gonna blow away. But nonetheless, I don't know that it's necessary to add the extra cost to these folks. You can only legislate about so much safety. So, enough said.
Mr. Mayor, could I?
Go ahead, Ty. No.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that. I mean, it's hard when you're talking about safety because putting anybody in danger is something none of us want to do. But I can guarantee you there's way more housing in this community that's going to be way less safe than what this is. I think what this council and city officials have to keep looking at is our overall emergency management strategy. I mean, the facts are we haven't had a new mobile home park. We really need this price point of housing. I think it's going to be safer than a decent percentage of the stuff that's in the community today. It's interesting when we were going through this was an idea that somebody added to our ordinances at this time. I don't think when the ordinances were crafted, I don't remember if I was on the planning commission or if I was on the council, but this was a item that was kind of added. This was kind of the cherry on the banana split, thinking that they could have it. As I've thought about this, I imagine if you're doing a big mobile home park, I mean, where you can build 10,000 square feet or 5,000 square feet underground. I mean, I just don't know how you really accomplish that. And so I think we should lean towards the federal regulations, recognizing that this is going to be better, safer housing than a lot of the stuff that we have. They still have to sell and have people want the park, so it has to be attractive. And then the town has to keep looking at your emergency management systems. We can't ignore that that's a component in all this. If all of a sudden we end up with a bunch of new mobile homes in certain areas, well, then I would think that would affect the way we look at emergency management in those areas.
Nick?
I'm not 100% certain on this because I didn't have time to research and look it up. Is there any grant money available for storm shelters or anything like that? Is that a thing?
Anybody know that?
I don't know of anything off the top of my head to get that. Could always happen, but nothing that I'm aware of right now.
We get well, we have not so much this year, but in previous years, we probably get emails regarding different types of grants for different things, probably 2 or 3 a month that are on different subjects, and they're not always the same. So just because there isn't something now doesn't mean there might not be something in the future.
Yeah.
But I don't recall one in the time I've been mayor that would have probably addressed that issue specifically.
Okay.
Other questions or, go ahead, Pete.
Just real quick, I was waiting for Brent to go clear in the back and sit down. Brent, would you mind coming back up? Just, I want to get your expertise. I don't know if you've done any studies on tornadic activity or anything with mobile homes, and while you're there, just to paraphrase a little bit about what we did with the mobile home ordinance 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago or so. The main thing we were doing was to making it so that we have newer mobile homes. We had a lot of 1967, 68, 69, the typical mobile homes that you see. And like the gentleman spoke, 1974, the HUD rules came out, things changed a lot. And now, after looking at those pictures, this has really changed a ton from your atypical mobile home that we're all picturing, the gal in Kansas that got taken up by a tornado. Thank you. Yeah, that's her name. But Brent, have you seen any of the studies on the new type mobile homes, 2026, 2027 mobile homes with this HELOX type technology anchored in? Do you know, and what's your indicator on safety value and what happens to a mobile home, manufactured house or a stick-built home in a tornado?
Well, I've had some experience looking at some of the Texas A&M has a tornado lab that they do some different experiments with. They're kind of interesting videos if you like things getting destroyed. It's an interesting video to watch. So I have experience with the FEMA HUD requirements. It's a 1996 guide. It's several hundred pages long, and they went through wind loads, things like that, for manufactured housing. And what this basically is a single wide manufactured house is what this is. We have quite a few double wide manufactured houses that are just two halves put together. And it's a similar type of foundation is what they're proposing. From a foundation load side, it's the same type of tie down system and strength. So in that regard, these are single wide versus double. And we have a lot of double wide in the community. So from that respect, this would be similar to a 2x4, 2x6 constructed house. I don't know, are your walls 2x6 or 2x4? And a lot of times the houses are built for shipping. They've got a handle making it from point A to point B is some of the roughest things they experience. So once they get in, getting set, and once they're set. So a 2x6, we have houses that don't have 2x4 walls. So if they're 2x6, they're already a heavier wall than what is required or necessary on a stick framed construction. So that's the, I guess, I don't know, does that address some of your question?
It does. It does.
And-
Yeah, I'm picturing this as safer than a good majority of the houses that are in our community right now, with the exception that things have changed so much with technology and with load bearings and wind loads and that I feel a 2026 manufactured house would be much more apt to survive straight line or heavy winds than some of the existing structures that we have in this community.
The HUD guidelines do have wind requirements as far as the structure being able to handle it. And so I know it's over 100 miles an hour. I don't remember, maybe you guys might, probably more of the 115 range, so.
100 mile sustained is 120 mile, I think.
Gust.
Whereas your traditional cycle is 90. So.
Okay. Thank you. That answers a lot. Thanks.
Ed, hold on, Brent.
No, I don't have questions.
Oh, okay. Just get sat back down, then we'll call you back. Okay, go ahead, Ed, sorry.
And just from a practical standpoint, if you're gonna have some kind of a community room or safe room or something, it's gonna be another maintenance point, another maintenance issue for the park owners, because typically those aren't gonna be frequented very often. So somebody's gonna have to make sure they're clean. If you leave the doors unlocked so people can get in there, it's hard telling what you're gonna get in there. Just from a practical standpoint, I can see very good reasons not to have it.
Other questions or comments? Okay, calling the question on item number 11, please. Item number 11 is passed. Moving on to item number 12, which begins with a public hearing. Consider action on an application by Lutheran Family Services of Nebraska for a conditional use permit to allow construction of an outpatient health clinic on property located at 1160 Linda Court in an R3 dwelling district. We're going to open the public hearing on item number 12. Anyone would like to make a comment? Please approach the microphone and tell us who you are.
Good evening. My name is Matt Peterson. I'm here on behalf of Lutheran Family Services tonight. My address is 614 Sequoia Court. I know you all have had quite some discussions tonight, so I'll keep this short. I think there's a lot of information in your packet, but essentially what Lutheran Family Services is looking at doing is building a new outpatient clinic at this location. They currently have a clinic on 12th Street that's outdated and needs some renovations. And so the plan there is to convert that into more of a crisis center. This new location will now serve as the outpatient clinic. As I think it's mentioned in your packet, it's strictly outpatient services. There's no residential treatment, there's no overnight stays. There'll be scheduled appointments. So it's going to be just like any traditional doctor's office or thing like that, where there will be some traffic in and out throughout the day, but the times will be staggered. And so there shouldn't be much traffic added to the area. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
We'll do that during the next section. So this is public hearing. So thank you.
Perfect.
Would anyone else like to make a comment on this item?
I move we close public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Vols, second by Reeker to close public hearing. Calling the question on closing the public hearing, please. Public hearing is now closed. Council will now consider action on an application by Lutheran Family Services of Nebraska for a conditional use permit to allow construction of an outpatient health clinic on property located 1160 Linda Court in an R3 dwelling district.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we find the request for a conditional. This is right? Yep. Mr. Mayor, I move that we find the request for a conditional use permit to allow construction of an outpatient health clinic located at 1160 Linda Court, meets the minimum standards stated in the North Platte Code of Ordinance, Section 156.322, and approve and grant the conditional use permit requested with the condition that all elements of the application are complied with. Based on the following factual findings: 1, the use shall conform to the applicable ordinance, laws, and regulations of any governmental jurisdiction. 2, the use shall have adequate water, sewer, and drainage facilities. 3, ingress and egress shall be so designated as to minimize traffic congestion in the public street. 4, the use shall in all other respects conform to the applicable regulations of the district in which it is located. And 5, the use shall be in harmony with the character of the area and the most appropriate use of the land.
Second.
Motion by Vols, second by Lucas. Okay. Questions?
Yeah. Mr.
Matt?
I couldn't be more for this project. I mean, this is fabulous. We continue to see in our community needs assessments with health the need for this, and Lutheran Family Services certainly is a great partner to have in the community. If there's some things that I've regretted over the years with residents, it's when we've worked with churches that we didn't disallow flashing electronic signs when there's a lot of residences around churches. So do you know if they intend to have any kind of flashing electronic sign with this project?
I do not know the answer to that, but I would guess no.
Okay. I've felt at times that anytime we have some of these things, we should consider baking that into the permit, but I don't know that I want to restrict this. Will we see this more than once? This is a one-shot deal.
Yeah, go ahead and do it if you think it's important.
Yes, then I would motion that we include as a condition that there will be no flashing electronic sign.
I would second that.
Motion by Lucas, second by Vols for no electronic flashing sign on this piece of property. Is that what you're saying? Okay. Any discussion on the motion? Ed?
What's flashing, Ty? I mean,
E.
when I think about St. Elizabeth and Seton, you've got a marquee that the format changes periodically, and it's not a pulsing flash, but obviously there's different light intensities based on the color that's being projected. So how do we define this? What are you thinking about?
Well, that's a great question. I'm thinking about Ian Batry and upset residents at that area. and there's a couple others in the community.
Yeah, I think we have regulation on them. Judy might want to speak on this real quick.
There is the building code. We've had this come up. The building
Yeah.
code does have some parameters as to the intensity of the light, and there's some other restrictions in the building code where our building inspectors have addressed this with some of the churches, and at least one in particular that I can think of. It's been addressed recently with the signs. So
One way with this one also, since it is in a residential district, you could just simply say no electronic signage.
Scratch flashing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I certainly don't have a goal of inhibiting our project here.
We'll be getting a phone call from Condon's.
And I don't think it'll bother them. I don't think they want to have a sign saying mental health here.
Typically, facilities such as these are not seeking to attract a great deal of
Right.
attention, so I don't imagine that there's going to be an issue with a great big neon sign.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Maybe I'll just withdraw my motion, but ask Mr. Peterson to pass that information on or concern on. Yeah, thank you.
I'll withdraw my second.
Meanwhile, back at the ranch. Okay. Do we have any other comments on this item? I just do want to share that I appreciate Lutheran Family Services continuing to execute their plan for alcohol and drug rehab facilities in the town. I know this is kind of stage one. Stage two, working with a couple of grants and things like that. If I understand it, Mr. Peterson, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but they're looking at remodeling the 12th Street side for a detox unit that would be a medical detox in part. Is that correct?
That's my understanding as well. I think if they can get this facility built, and then we'll remodel the term they used with me was crisis center, but I think that's exactly what would be more immediate needs than the ongoing counseling services.
Something that several of us have worked on now for several years. So it would be nice to see that come to fruition.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions on this item? Calling the question on item number 12, please. Item number 12 is passed. Item number 13.
Mr. Mayor, may I interrupt you?
Go ahead.
I'd like to move to enter into closed session for the sole purpose of discussing real estate transactions in order to protect the public's interest.
second.
Motion to close session by Lucas, second by, I think Reeker won that one. Calling the question on closed session. Mr. Nisley and Mr. Garrick, would you please vote? Jim? Jim, would you vote, please? You can vote whichever way you want, but please vote. Council is now in closed session. Thank you, everyone.
807.
What?
807.
Oh, yeah.
Put them back in.
You're burning the hole right through stuff, Brent. You're burning the hole right through stuff.
Smoking?
Yeah, working.
Up here?
No. Once we
Hold on just a second.
once we come out, or once everybody gets back in.
Everyone back? All right. Okay, we're back, everyone. Just let everybody know, we entered closed session at 7:31. We exited closed session at 8:07. The only matter discussed was potential real estate transactions, and we entered closed session to protect the public's interest. Okay, we have item number 13 before us, and that is to discuss and outline possible terms for sale of 2 industrial lots in the industrial area by Prospect Drive and Prospect Lane, and direct the city attorney to draft a proposed ordinance. Mr. Lucas.
Oh, sorry. Could I move to table item number 13, subject to getting more detailed plans on the proposal?
Okay, we have a motion to table by Lucas and a second by Garrick. There's no discussion on the motion to table. All those in favor of the table, please raise your right hand. This item is tabled until there is a, what was your exact words?
Until we would have a more detailed site plan to review.
Okay. All right, moving on to item number 14, approve the claims.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we pay the bills.
Second. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to abstain.
Okay, motion by Reeker, second by Vols to pay the claims. Mr. Dye has abstained. Calling the question on the claims, raise your right hand. Oh,
Question.
oh, I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
On the general, we show Hope Esperanza for $3,000. I think that's right. Yeah, $3,000. I don't know if anybody's looked into these people, but they've got some associates that work with them that are promoting DEI, that are promoting changes in our immigration laws. They brag about being inclusive, making sure that we're an inclusive community and that we're welcoming all of the immigrants. I don't think this is something that I want to support. I know that, I think, Lane, you said we're using them for translation.
That's if I remember right, they hadn't invoiced us for a few months, so that's 3 months worth of translation services, and we have people that need translation services. What that actually is for, the chamber or the council. I think this was before the council about a year and a half ago when we first entered into that agreement with them. So it's usually not 3,000, but that's what it's for, Ed.
You know, they say right on their website, this welcoming America. Diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Now, I don't know if you guys have followed diversity, equity, and inclusion, but that's a racist idea. It's definitely Marxist. And I don't think we should be supporting it. I really don't. And then they want us to sign, one of the other things is sign the pledge, draw the line against ICE violence. This is about as political as you could ever hope to get. What is certified welcoming? The designation demonstrates efforts that the local government and community partners have undertaken to advance diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, particularly for immigrants and refugees. Now, Granted, they fail to include illegal immigrants, of course, but that's what they mean. I don't know if you've ever followed the Nebraska Appleseed Foundation, another left-leaning bunch. Since 1996, Nebraska Appleseed has fought for justice and opportunity for all Nebraskans. We take a systematic approach to complex issues such as child welfare, immigration policy, affordable health care, and poverty. Now, I don't think these are things that government should be supporting. I really don't. Thoughts? I did have a question though, under general, Zell, is that our,
That's our HR consultants.
and then, under the fire, we had a bill of barbecue for $1,500. Is that meals for the fighting the fires, or?
I'd have to look into that, Ed. I'm not sure on that one.
And then under public service, I'm not questioning these, I'm just kind of curious what they're for. TK's Welding and Fabrication, we got $52,000. That's a pretty big bill for TK's. I'm not sure what we're doing.
That's, part of that was for our recycling bins, for our dumping into the trucks to take to the Togolala. It was like 12,000 of that. I'd have to look at the other. I think we had something done, we put in the steel floor at the transfer station. Every so often that wears out and we have to put new plates in. So more than likely, TK's does a ton of stuff for us. We go to bid, but they usually are the best price. So
those were questions that
I will find out about the fire one because I don't know that answer.
Anyway, that's the only thing that I had, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Other comments or questions on the claims? Seeing none, calling the question of the claim, please raise your right hand if you're in favor. Rod, you abstained.
abstaining,
You're not
sorry.
voting.
Put your hand down.
All right, 6-0. Public agenda requests. We respect our city employees' request that any complaints or criticisms of employees not be aired at a public meeting. Concerns about employees should be brought to the attention of the city administrator or the mayor. Individuals in violation will be declared out of order. If anyone has a public agenda request item, you're welcome to approach the microphone and let us know your thoughts. Go ahead and come up to the microphone, please, sir. Tell us who you are and where you live, and we'll be happy to listen to your thoughts.
The city, about a year ago, had several big disaster containers across from the park. Shop, big dump stuff. What would be the possibility of having those containers year round? I think it would really cut back on stuff that people have on their properties. Because not everybody's got a way to get it to the dump. But if they have some, that easy and access to do big stuff. I know when they were over there, I got rid of a bunch of stuff.
Are you talking about things that might be considered trash, or are you talking about vegetation?
Trash.
Okay.
Other than junk car, like mattresses people leave behind and stuff like that. That you can't put out for the truck.
I can tell you because of the cost of that stuff, that's why we only have it for a limited amount of time because it's a pretty significant cost. I think we had 50 some tons last year in that 9-day period. If we did it year round, it'd be a considerable cost. We'd have to look at our garbage rates, but that's why we only have it for a limited time.
Think of all the junk that is in town that you don't have to look at.
Up until 6 years ago, we didn't do it at all. So, but I get your point.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. We will look at doing it at least more frequently in the short term. So. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Anyone else? Mr. Reeker?
Mr. Mayor, I move we adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Reeker, second by Bolds to adjourn. All those in favor is unanimous. Meeting adjourned. See you all in 2 weeks. Except for Pete, who will be somewhere on the boat.